you guys want to introduce yourself or say anything about what you're working on, that'd be great. And we can give a word to you. It's okay. For the Zoom.
For the Zoom, okay. My name is Pratna. I'm a home health PT assistant. I moved to Fort Myers last year, and then I guess I'm just trying to meet new people. 6 weeks from now, I'm trying to build a website for my boyfriend's boss. I just took it on with like no knowledge of like coding, but I'm just here to like just make friends and learn more things.
Not something that I'm working on, but I just wanted to invite you guys next week, next Thursday, a week from now, where we will be here too. And it's going to be Southwest Florida Coders Meetup. And we are going to be doing MongoDB, Terraform, and AWS.
This is Arella, who like my older sister. So they are sponsors of whatever, everything we have. And Inessa, she is from Pi Ladies also, if you want to say a few words.
Hi everyone. Sorry for being late. I was driving from Naples and the traffic was terrible today. I am the organizer of Pi Ladies Southwest Florida and the Python user group in Southwest Florida. We have an event coming up in 2 weeks on the 24th of February. Brian Capuana, a senior developer advocate from Microsoft, will be presenting on using Python with drones. So the title of the presentation is Chasing Faces with Drones, I think, so it's like that. Anyways, the announcement is on our meetup, so please check it out, and I hope to see some of you there. And it's virtual, so you don't have to fight the traffic.
That's why we're gonna do it every other month for my group. Do you guys wanna introduce?
Hi, I'm Gonzalo. I'm a student at HECU, software engineering. And well, I found out about this event because my sister introduced me to you guys. I'm taking a blockchains class, and a lot of the things you guys are mentioning in this is correlates with that, like the metaverse and the possibilities of virtual reality and all that stuff. And you guys talked about future presentations about NFTs and crypto and all that. I'm new to that stuff, so I'd love to learn more about it.
Yeah, we have a few students. I haven't seen them. Christian, and a few other guys that from FGCU. I keep trying. I want to go to talk to Scott Vencelo.
Oh
Yeah, yeah. So I want to see what you guys doing with virtual reality, and if anything we can help or even learn from from you guys. Yeah. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it possible to like meet someone and maybe talk to somebody there? But we can talk. I'll take your card. No? Okay. Anybody? Okay. Kim wants to say.
Hi, I'm Kim Williams. I'm the System Sites and Experience Manager here at Collaboratory. And I don't normally like to hang around this place after I've worked here all day, but I'm super interested in virtual reality and, just learning more about some of the things that you guys are talking about. So.
Do you want to introduce the Collaboratory and the mission that you guys have?
Sure. So the Collaboratory, which is formerly the Southwest Florida Community Foundation, has been in our region for 45 years at this point. Formally as the foundation, we have a long history of granting to nonprofits in our region, supporting their capacity and missions, and then also grants to students for scholarships. Over the last handful of years, we've kind of shifted into like really assisting with capacity, really trying to make collaborations amongst these organizations. So many people are working and doing their hard work, but they're kind of doing it alone. And so therefore we're all working on these problems, but no one is really moving a lot on the needle. They're not moving the needle a whole lot. So our new mission, as we have rebranded as Collaboratory, well, actually, let me tell you this. So we received new market tax credits to build this space. And by doing that, we renovated what was historically the train station and added on about 15,000 square feet of meeting, tenant, and event space. And we offer that to our nonprofit partners and our community organizations at no charge to them, so that we could help, build their capacity. A lot of nonprofits don't have access to, Class A business space. A lot of startup organizations can't afford Class A business space. So everything that we do here is super below market when we do charge, and it's meant to be a resource to the community. Our new mission is that we are working to coordinate and solve all of our region's social issues on an 18-year deadline. So if you have any interest in learning more about that, we're doing regular explanation sessions. You can visit collaboratory.org to sign up for one of those and see how you could get involved.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm gonna give the microphone to
I
Adam.
have my own. I don't
Oh,
have
you
to
have,
hold it.
sorry.
One less thing I have to hold on to, but thank you.
You're welcome, no problem.
Hi guys, my name is Adam and I work at Golisano Children's Hospital, Southwest Florida. About half-hour drive, but 45 minutes with the traffic today. Thank you for having me today. Thank you, Kim, for hanging around and letting us be here. Let's dive into it. So it's me. My formal title is Patient Technology Specialist, and I'll dive in more of what I do and what my job description is. But let me see what is up first. So the tech specialist's main role is to promote positive coping in hospitalized patients. Whoop, sorry. Way off, Kim.
We had someone join.
Oh, okay, you're good. Tech specialist's main role is to promote positive coping in hospitalized patients and families utilizing a therapeutic gaming. Tech specialist has a wide variety of media that is utilized in the clinical setting to decrease anxiety, encourage ambulation for procedural support, and provide normalization. So on top of virtual reality and augmented reality, I do have a lot of other technology I can use, and I'm going to touch a little bit on everything as well. And to be able to connect with patients over gaming and working with patients as young as 5 years old. I go from 5 years old all the way up to 30 because some patients might be diagnosed with a pediatric cancer and they'll still continue their treatment all the way up to the age of 30. So I can see anyone between 5 and 30. I cover 4th floor pediatric intensive care unit, the PICU, for high-level medical care patients, the 5th floor hematology, oncology patients, outpatient and inpatient, 6th and 7th floor units for medical and surgical patients in rehab for long-term chronic and mental health population. I also maintain child life technology. Child life I'll get into in a few minutes. The technology equipment throughout the hospital, including the PlayStation consoles, you can find one in every patient's room. There's about 74 beds for the ages of a couple weeks old all the way up to the age of 30. And the other half of the population is the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, and that's about 75 more beds for premature births. We have Xbox cards, Starlight VR, Oculus headsets. I keep everything updated. I create storage space, troubleshooting equipment, etc. So really quick, I work in the child life department, and a child life specialist uses evidence-based techniques to make the hospital a kid-friendly place. Their clinical and emotional experience is an essential part of a patient care and to ensure the child's emotional and physical development in the face of illness. Certified child life specialists required to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree with clinical internship, which is about 4 months or 600 hours. And along with a certification exam that needs to be maintained every 5 years to be certified. Certified child life specialists work with children, families, medical staff, and the entire healthcare team to minimize the stress of hospital experience through the following services: pre-admission and pre-surgical tours, activities in the playroom, teen lounge, and bedside. Unfortunately, COVID has shut down all of those playrooms, so we do the best we can in each of the patient's room. preparation for medical tests, procedures, and surgeries, teaching and education on new diagnosis, educational services, including homebound, hospital teaching, and school reentry program, providing a sense of normalcy for children coping with serious health issues, reducing stress to help recovery and allow children to cope with their medical situation, bereavement and memory making support with team members through the units, special events such as pet therapy, clowns, as well as planning birthday, holiday, discharge, and end of chemo celebrations. So I know I'm going a lot into stuff that hasn't had to do with technology and VR, but I'm going to bring it all in together soon. So just bear with me for a few minutes. So on top of all of that, I work with these child life specialists. There's about anywhere between 8 and 10 of them, and they cover the entire hospital. There's also a music therapy, hospital school teacher, a hospital facility dog named Dorian, and then myself. So we all collaborate to work together to bring referrals in depending on what their needs are. And then, so my ancient history, yes. No. No, I am not a certified child specialist. I'll get into more of my background actually right now. I would love to be one. I actually didn't know about certified child life specialists until I started working in the hospital. And unfortunately, most of the internship, which is the 600 hours, is unpaid. I cannot afford to do that right now. So I graduated with a bachelor's degree of sociology from the University of Massachusetts. I'm originally from there. I have 15 years of customer service jobs, whether it's CVS, grocery stores, 5 years as a Journey shoe store manager, 80 payroll administrator. And then I also jumped into 6+ years as a lead residential counselor for group homes for children between the ages of 5 and 18. Same with therapeutic mentoring, in-home behavioral mentoring. And I also did lead agency service coordinator for DCF, which is state funded contracting. I do everything from supervised visits to parenting classes. I control the funds for that for the state. And the reason why I talk about this is because I worked and trained for trauma-informed care. So I put the 10 ingredients which are up there, but I needed all that experience to be able to even get this job, because on top of the technology side of it, you have to have the bedside manner to even try to connect or work with the children as well. So you need someone with some type of experience on top of technology. Technology education, people will probably laugh at this. I actually don't have any technology education. I am a millennial and I learned based on all of this. I was born. That's okay. I'm sorry. Hello. You gotta be friendly. Also, sorry, I am not really dressed formally. I came straight from the hospital. It was a very busy day. Okay. So yeah, I was born in 1987. So I have had all of these gaming consoles in my home at one point. And it's when I was making this slide, it was like mind blowing to see how far Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation, with all these crazy different logos, and Xbox, it's just mind blowing how far technology has actually come. So anytime, you know, I've had every iPhone, every iPad, all the Apple products. So if something wasn't working, I was like the go-to person in my family. So when I found this job, my fiance actually works for Lee Health as well. And my previous job, I was very unhappy in. So one day I was just strolling the internet and I found this job, and it was patient technology specialist. And I'm like, I've worked with children. I loved working with kids, but my caseload was near 300 families up in Massachusetts, and it was just way too much for me to handle. And it was a burnout because I was working with kids who didn't really want the help. It was forced on them. And working in a hospital, it's completely different because those kids, granted, necessarily didn't want to be there, but they were grateful because they just were trying to heal themselves. So my actual position at the hospital is 100% grant funded. And it started with Child's Play Charity. And as of right now, it will always be grant funded. But Child's Play Charity is the charity that started the actual position. Yes, oh yeah, yep. And I'm gonna go into that right now. So since 2003, they set up an organization called Child's Play, a game industry charity dedicated to improving the lives of children and toys and games in the network for 185 hospitals worldwide. over the years, the community has answered the call and come together to raise millions of dollars. So, and I'll go into how that kind of brings in where my position came from. The first picture, they do help just in general, help fund technology in the hospital. Doesn't mean you actually need my position there, but they'll still fund gaming consoles, VR, gaming cards, and what have you. They also put a lot of money towards domestic violence shelters around the country as well. So if there's women, kids, children staying in these shelters, they have access to have fun and games too. What my position is, it's the grant program. So Child's Play has two grant programs. In the first quarter of the year, they are awarded capacity building grants. These grants may fund technical specialists, me, who focuses on bringing the latest developments in gaming to the hospitals or help a hospital create a new program that will utilize technology to improve the lives of the kids they care for. Quarter two, Child's Play awards equipment grants. These grants help hospitals update the games and technologies they have. So back in 2017, Golisano decided to apply for this grant. And there's one gentleman before me who had this, and I took over when he left. So far, Child's Play has donated over $100,000 worth of salary funds, technology equipment. Like I said, every room has a PlayStation in it. They've donated iPads, they've donated salary dollars. Everything that I've needed for this, I can get from them. So Golisano offers multiple different opportunities for children to use technology, not only to find normalization and in abnormal situations, but without them realizing it can also be very therapeutic. My boss before I came here was like, please make sure we focus on the therapeutic side of things. I'm like, I get you, so I'm here. Golisano offers all the following, which is what I maintenance and work with: tablets, iPads, Kindles, 3D printing, which we use with bereavement and memory making as well, robotics, coding, gaming consoles, PC, laptop gaming, and of course the VR and AR reality as well. So this is Poppy. This is what I decided to call her, obviously for HIPAA reasons. I can't use her real name, but she loved that I named her that. This is when I first started. So Poppy is a HEMOC, so hematology and oncology patient. She is diagnosed with recurrent Wilms tumor of the kidney. She was diagnosed at the age of 7, and now she's the age of 15. Wilms tumor is a rare kidney cancer that primarily affects children, also known as nephroblastoma. It's the most common cancer of the kidneys, and a lot of the times it can also be fatal. So it's really hard. Sometimes I go into work and I'm like, I don't know if I can put a smile on my face today because I just feel so bad for some of these kids, especially working on the HEMOC unit of terminally ill kiddos. And unfortunately, Poppy, we're not sure how much longer she'll be alive, but hopefully she'll be around with us for a lot longer. But just an example, like the symptoms for it is abnormal mass that you can actually feel: fever, blood in the urine, vomiting, loss of appetite, high blood pressure. And there's actually different subcategories of the tumors that can be on it as well. But she absolutely loves when I come around. So right now, what you can see that she has on her, we also partnered up with a company called Starlight, and they created their own VR goggles. And it helps because sometimes Poppy can be in outpatient or inpatient, depending on the reason of the visit. So Poppy will come for 5 days straight where she's getting an infusion or in chemo of what she needs. And she can be up there for 4 to 8 hours of the entire day, just sitting in a chair, body getting stiff. She's got the infusion or chemo going into her. She will need pain medications or Benadryl throughout the day because her body gets taken a beating, and she can taste some of that medicine even when it goes through an IV. So what happens is she's actually one of the first patients I worked with. She's an inpatient in this photo right now because when she struck a fever, she immediately has to go to the hospital for antibiotics. And she's actually there right now. This was taken months ago. But she loves VR. She loves Starlight. She loves the Oculus and the gaming console Nintendo Switch. As of right now, she has not beaten me at Mario Kart, but it's one of her bucket list items to get that done. But the reason why I provide VR for her is that because it helps with her anxiety. She has to get her port access every time in. And if you don't know what the port is, it's something that's surgically placed in your chest, and that is where the chemo goes into. So every time they do that, they have to inject a needle into it and then remove it and then flush it and then that's when the chemo can start. She can normally handle that procedure without me. Sometimes she's the age of 15. I do have kiddos age 9, 7, 6 who have to get their port access and they don't understand why, because they're that young age. So we've had one patient before, she had a double amputation because of the cancer. I don't remember what it was. So she lost both of her legs and she was coming in for to have chemo done and she just didn't want to do it. She was very hyperventilating, having a panic attack, anxiety through the roof. And I was just like, where do you want to go right now? She's like, I'm like, where do you want to be? You don't want to be in the hospital. You don't want to be in this little itty bitty room. You want to be somewhere else. She's like, I've never been to the beach. And I was like, girl, you live in Florida and you've never been to the beach? I'm like, let me take you. At first she was like, no, I don't want anything covering my eyes and I can't see what's going on in my chest, excuse me. So I just stood in the room and I was like, let me just hang out. And if she changes her mind, she does. She ended up changing her mind and I just put the goggles on her. The best thing about the Starlight Experience VR, the one that Poppy has in the photo here, it's just this little remote that she is holding. So unlike the Oculus where it's 2 remotes, this one can just be used sitting down and it's just a little pointer and it's very calming. She loves to go underwater and follow an otter. She learns more about the sea life. And then the young woman who was getting the W amputation also, she wanted to go to the beach and I just threw her to Miami Beach and she just, and all of a sudden you could see like the tears running down her face because she was able to take a deep breath because virtual reality brought her somewhere where she didn't want to be other than the hospital. But the thing is that I will meet, and I also have happier stories other than just double amputations. But Poppy loves planning ahead. Once a month, she has to be here Monday through Friday getting her chemo. She and I will plan. She will write in her school agenda the days I'm coming. If I don't show up, she calls me out. And since she's lost all of her hair, she gets her eyelashes ready every time because she wants her eyes to be pretty when she goes into the Oculus. So she's the reason why I come back to work every day. So virtual reality and augmented reality, number one reason to provide virtual reality, whether it's in children or adults in hospitals, because we do offer it via for PT at the Lee Memorial Hospital as well. They do it for adults just to start regaining strength back in their arms or legs, what have you. It's just the therapeutic benefits behind it. Decrease anxiety. I brought the young woman to the beach. Encouraging ambulation. Sometimes I have one kiddo that's in the hospital right now. He's been there for 30 days. He does not want to get out of his bed. And I'm like, we got to get you out of bed. What can I do to get you out of bed? He's like, just bring the Oculus. Like I'm literally, they can see me walking around with my gray case and the kids know what I'm coming to do for. It's exciting. Support during procedures. If a kiddo needs to go being either transported down to pre-op before surgery, or if they're coming in for outpatient surgery procedures as well, I can meet with them and throw goggles on their face and just play whatever they want while they're being transported to the operating room. And then they can be brought from the gurney up to the operating table and they have no idea what's going on. And we always make sure that they're voicing how they're feeling. We will never, ever, and I'll always pair up with a child life specialist as well to make sure the kid is voicing their opinion of, I'm ready to do this. All right, that's fine. If you're not, we will wait. There's no rush. And the doctors and nurses are always very willing to work with us as well. Obviously, we want to make sure that the kids are not being violated or they're just comfortable with what the procedures coming up next. Providing normalization. I have a kiddo who luckily just got discharged today. He was here through the Baker Act, and what the Baker Act is in Florida is if you have suicidal or homicidal ideations, you're placed in the Baker Act. So when you get transported to the hospital, you have a sitter in your room and anything dangerous is removed out of the room as well. Granted, sometimes those kiddos, they're having suicidal ideations for a reason. If it's homicidal, then yes, I will not go in there and give him a PlayStation controller and be like, have fun, and he knocks out the one of the babysitters sitting in the room hallway. So, but if a kiddo has having suicide ideation because he lost his grandmother to COVID and he doesn't know what to do because it was like his mother to him, then I'll go in and assess the situation and be like, oh, you just need some help and you're not knowing how to voice that opinion right now, I will absolutely come in and do VR with you if you need some distractions or if you need just a PlayStation controller, and I'll sit down and either watch you play or I'll kick your butt in the game. Like it's fine. But one kiddo who got discharged today was a Baker Act kiddo. And it's so hard when we have them come in right now because they need to be COVID negative, and even if they're fine and not showing any symptoms, they can come back COVID positive and they can be with us for a week or two because not all COVID patients are showing signs of symptoms. And unfortunately, due to some of his previous aggression behavior, a lot of facilities weren't taking him right now. So he had to hang out with us for about 10 days. And every other day I would go in, he loved the Oculus. He came in, what did we do? Whenever I start working with a kiddo, I do the very first intro game. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. What is it? Yeah. Yep, and they love it. They'll throw that paper airplane, they'll punch that ball, they'll put the game in and go dance with the robot. My favorite thing is having a kiddo get up out of bed and start dancing with a robot. I named him Bob. So they love doing that, and he tried that and he thought it was the coolest thing. But all of a sudden he said, stop. I'm like, okay. And I took the goggles off. It was too real for him. He was like, that was really cool, but I can see why you only do it for a certain period of time. If a kiddo's never done VR before, I'm only doing it with them for maybe 15 minutes, doing that first game, seeing how they react to it. If they're getting nauseous, especially if they're having chemo right now, they're getting nauseous, or if they're having a headache, feeling dizzy, I have to stop the Oculus and then I'll reintroduce it back to them. Once they get in the full swing, they can kick my butt in Beat Saber because that's one of the most popular games right now. But Beat Saber, I mean, even though you're just standing in one spot, you're still moving your arms. I do that for 30 minutes on my lunch break and I'm breaking a sweat. So it's great to see them get up, and they don't realize the therapeutic aspect because all they think is it's just a game, and I'm in a kids hospital, so they're gonna provide me a game. And along the lines with especially Baker Act, building rapport and trust in patients when others cannot. Obviously a kiddo, even if they're the age of 12 or 13, she has a male doctor, she might not open up to a male doctor because if they're Baker Act or if they're having other personal problems, she doesn't want to talk to a male doctor. Even if a nurse comes in, she might not want to open up because they're the big bag adults that come in with the needles and the drugs and all that jazz. Because sometimes nurses and doctors, God bless them, have been doing an amazing job, especially the past few years. They sometimes can get robotic and come in, hey, how you doing? Great, okay, take this pill and then walk out. Child Life, myself, the music therapist, and the hospital school teacher will go in and explain those things, and they can talk about their emotions and being able to build a rapport and trust in the patient, so that way they have someone that they can look forward to each day when they come in. And at the end of the day, the whole reason why the two gentlemen that created the Child's Play charity was erasing how video games, including VR, are portrayed negatively by the media and promote, instead of promoting health and healing. Because we don't always want people to think of video games as Grand Theft Auto 5 with stealing cars and having strippers at a nightclub. We want to be able to show that little Poppy can go walk through a field of butterflies and not realize that she's having a port access or having chemo done because it's relaxing for them. The people, literally anyone can make a referral to myself or Child Life. Anyone in the hospital can reach out via verbal or email for a patient technology specialist. But again, the referral does not need to be a therapeutic, it needs to be a therapeutic referral, and not always the patient is bored. So there needs to be a therapeutic aspect of why I'm going to see this kiddo. I don't mind if I build up a rapport. We just have one patient, I'll call him Sebastian, who his cancer just relapsed and he has to come in and be in the hospital for a month. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He has to come in for a month, get his antibiotics, get his chemo, and he's just gonna be stuck there. He was here before and he loved Beat Saber. That's all he did with the guy before me, that's all he did. So I made sure the first day he was there, I was like, hey, I'm Adam, I replaced Jane, and I'm gonna do Beat Saber with you. And I tell you, that kid was napping when I walked in. He jumped out of that bed and was ready to do it. So just seeing that smile. But like I said, anyone can refer to me. So Child Life, all the girls that I work with, medical staff, myself, Child Life, and all of us are considered clinical medical staff because we do hands-on with the patients. The psychologists, the chaplains, the social workers, and parents and patients. If they've been in the hospital before and know of our services, they are more than welcome to call my zone phone and be like, hey, I want to see you. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were in the hospital. Let me make some time for you today or tomorrow, depending on who's there. I think that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Previous slide, which the most common
The most common one is Child Life, because I work directly with them in the same office every day. So it's easy. They just come back to where I'm sitting and be like, hey, little Johnny's in room 6106. Can you go see him because he has to go to pre-op later in a few hours and he can really just use some distraction right now for anxiety. And other than that, surprisingly enough, I get a lot from social workers because when social work walks into a room, patients and parents automatically think that DCF is going to be on their case because you hear the word social work and wondering why are they coming into the hospital. So they'll call me and be like, hey, can you see little Annabelle in room 7113 because I have to go see her in a little bit. I don't want to be too anxious, or I'll go with them. We partner up all the time. I will go with the psychologist. I will go with the doctor or the nurse. I make sure I have a great relationship with all of them before and just go in and be like, hey, Dr. Kelly's going to access your port. What would you like from me while we're here? Or sometimes they just like the presence of a familiar face too. So we have certain antibacterial wipes every time, I forget the actual name of them, but every time we leave the room, we have to wipe off all the equipment. It is safe for the equipment, whether it's a Nintendo Switch or the Oculus or anything like that. I am able to go and see any type of patient. So whether if they're on droplet, which means we have to wear a gown and gloves just because we're waiting for tests, or if they have pneumonia or the flu, we don't need it to get on us, and we don't need to bring in something from the outside world too. I can also see COVID patients, but I usually am a little more restrictive about what I bring into those rooms. Unfortunately, I won't bring in like my Nintendo Switch or my Oculus. I might bring in the Starlight headset because I can leave that in the room, but anything that you bring into a COVID room, if it's a DVD or a video game or anything else, it has to stay in that room until they're declared negative, and then it has to be sanitized.
So they are developing the box specifically for cleaning your headset.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
I've seen.
Clean box.
Yeah.
They do just
the ultrasound, blue light.
the blue light.
Yeah.
The blue light, so
Yeah.
very
I would
expensive.
love.
But if they have budget, maybe I can contact you. I have been doing.
Yeah, that would be great.
I have the name. She called me. She's like, "Do you want it?" It's like $1,800. I can buy like 4 headsets for it.
My boss wouldn't. She gives me a hard time because I'm really good at spending the hospital's money. But at the same time, like I said, my position is 100% grant funded. Everything that all the equipment I buy is grant funded or philanthropy funded, and I will go to the head of our foundation. Her and I work all the time. She's like, well, if you want A, B, and C, I need X, Y, and Z of why you need it. Show me some kids that are working with this already. So we had like Nintendo Switch. We had a donor give us $10,000 because we wanted 2 carts. So the Nintendo Switch is locked into a cart. It has 27 games loaded on it, so they can't steal it. And it's a mobile cart, so we can move it room to room. She's like, let us buy 2, show me how many are using it, take pictures of them, and send them along to the donors, because donors always love to see pictures of the kiddos and the reasons why they're there and why they would benefit from it. So yeah, I wouldn't mind getting my hands on a couple of those. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So it's just the name of the brand. So Oculus is funded through Facebook. They created the Oculus itself. Starlight is definitely not as advanced with their imaging and their graphics. It's just very, very basic. So you just have a one little rope, pretty much the size of this, and it has just a couple of buttons on it, and you just point to what you want to play, or if I wanted to move from here to there, I just hit one button. The Oculus has more great graphic quality for virtual reality, and it has 2 controllers, and it has more options of your controls for it, and it moves seamlessly. Like, so if I wanted to go from here over there, I don't have to just like kind of glitch and point to the exact spot. I can just hit the arrow button over and it will just glide me over seamlessly. So it's just the quality of it. Starlight is mass production, and they're also a nonprofit. So it's basically whatever money they're coming in, they'll make just the basics. So if a kiddo's never done virtual reality before, I'll start them on Starlight because it's not as intense. They won't get dizzy or nauseous from it. Once they do well with that, especially if they're younger, I would move them to the Oculus if I think they can handle it. So it just depends on how many sessions they have.
Are you able to date train them?
Oh, say it again.
Are you able to date
Yeah. So a lot of the games I have right now for the Oculus, it's meant for the one spot. So unfortunately, due to COVID, we really can't have that many patients in the hallways. So unfortunately, I didn't want to download too many games where they're just kind of going like this and just their one room. So right now I'm focusing mostly on their arms and just hit, because a lot of the kids like to dance with the robot and get down a little bit with it. So, but we're slowly starting to lift those protocols, especially with the hematology and oncology. We really can't do any cross-contamination depending on what they have. But we're hopeful in the future, hopefully once COVID lifts up a little bit more, we're actually building we have a teen room on the 7th floor, and we're gonna gut it, and we're gonna set up the virtual reality station. Will have 3 like huge TVs for gaming stations, and that's where all my equipment will be. So I can host a bunch of the kids from the same floor to come in and do Super Smash Brothers, or have 2 or 3 Oculus and kind of meet up together in a virtual world, which would be great. So yeah, not right now. There's not much of the walking around, but ambulating with their arms and everything, yeah. And like I said, the Lee Memorial Hospital, they do more of the physical therapy there. Mine is more anxiety therapy. I just totally blanked. Bringing down your anxiety for procedures and all that. So there's some ambulation, but it's more just kind of boosting self-confidence and being more aware that they can have a good time when they come to the hospital. Yeah, of course.
Is it for just everybody?
You'd have to go through them. So unfortunately, you can't go on their website and order it. You would have to apply and ask them. They're very great with their support. I'm not sure if it's just hospital based, but I can look into it and get back to you.
And it comes with reloaded apps, so you have
Yep.
access to
Yeah, everything. There's about, I want to say probably close to 20, 25 games on there. They're not like like Beat Saber type games, but like I said, Poppy loves to go underwater and a sea otter. She just bounce to different spots underwater and going to a sunken ship, and then eventually going on land, and she touches different things, and it will teach you about kelp and, you know, a shark if it's coming. She doesn't like the shark. I have to make it go away. So, and actually what I completely forgot about too is that we are in the works, because we have a Naples clinic, obviously down in Naples, for just the hematology oncology patients. And we built our first total immersion room. So the entire room is virtual. So there's no need for the goggles. So they have a little gaming pad next to them, and they just sit in the chair, and it's like they're underwater, they're on the beach. Yep, the whole, so this entire wall is just projected. And then if they want to play video games, there's one button, and it's an 80-inch screen TV, and we hooked up a PlayStation 5, and they're already loving it. So that was at $100,000 a room. So we're going to be providing it there. And then hopefully all 10 infusion rooms at Golisano. So we're looking at like $1 million project.
Remember I mentioned before that what we're working on, not exactly put the headset on, and that's it. That's all we about virtual reality. It's all about immersion. So hopefully that will, in the future, not need a headset. Projectors or something that will just bring the web will become immersive, not just plus TV. So
Yeah, it's basically pretty much a projector like that, and it's projected on all 3 of the walls in the room, and there's just a nice, very comfortable chair, and you can move around a sunken ship. If you don't want the shark there, you hit the button and it goes away. And it's absolutely great. We're one of the first hospitals to actually have it. We're really excited. I wish I had a video of it. It wasn't allowed to because it hasn't like officially launched yet. I am going there tomorrow to install the PlayStation 5, and then it will be officially open, and then we can hopefully bring it over to Golisano.
They have like 3 walls covered with
Mhm.
screens and everything.
So it's not, yeah, they're not even a screen, but yeah, it's a projected.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Projected, but on the 3 walls.
Yep.
in every infusion.
Yeah. Yeah, we have 10 infusion rooms, and I'll be honest, it's an infusion room. It's basically just gray painting and a tan chair. And granted, there is a TV and a PlayStation in every room, but it's not like the most inviting thing. There's a couch for parents, and that can also fold out into like flatten out so parents can sleep, especially if they're there for all day for 8 hours. So it's good, but it would be really more comforting for the kiddos that have to be there all day. And then eventually we're also working with them to do projections in each level of the hospital. So it's basically this size, and it's a laser, and it just shoots onto the wall, and it can mimic basically your hand movements. And if you're just walking by, you can kind of just play with it. We want the kids to be more interactive when they're coming into the hospital, because most kids don't want to go into hospital. So some children's hospitals actually have a completely separate entrance for the kiddos. And a lot of times we will get called to the lobby and be like, this kiddo is having a hard time, especially if they're on the spectrum or if they're just really oversensitized for coming into a big building like this with all the scary nurses and doctors. How much does an Oculus cost? It was what? $299 for this. Yeah, there's 2 right now. Yeah, I have the $299 one, and I have like probably 15 games on it. You connect it through your Facebook. Yeah. And then you can have it projected. So while they're on it, I have it on my iPad, so I can see what they're doing. I can change the apps flawlessly without them having to worry about that. And that's how I purchase all the games too, is to the iPad. So, and if you fill up your Oculus with a lot of games too, you can delete it, but it's still saved on your cloud. So that way you can delete something and buy something else. So I would agree, it's not really necessary to have the big one unless you're really invested into it. But there's so many options. My boss likes to go to Bora Bora sometimes, so she'll throw that on there. And just yeah, she loves that.
Linda, who is going to be my next speaker, she has the biggest Facebook group for Wonder VR.
Oh, go.
And she is, and the founder of Wonder VR, he was on my talk.
Oh, okay.
As well, and he's the owner of Red Pepper, the one, so Wonder and Red Pepper, who's doing the senior VR for seniors.
Yeah.
The same guy made the Wonder.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, my boss loves Wonder. She goes everywhere. And it's fun too. Well, not fun. I will say that we had a patient who recently passed, and she was about 10 years old. She was a hematology oncology patient. And when we know the time is coming, hospice comes in, we try to fulfill as many wishes as we can. She wanted to see snow because she's never seen snow. So we had, I think it was Hertz Arena provides like snow from their Zamboni after a hockey game. So she got to see that. She wanted to go to Japan. So I was able to go on Wander and bring her to Japan so she can kind of see it. So it's a great resource for literally anything. I love it. Any other questions?
So much, I don't.
Yes, of course.
And we have about like 15. We have to clean up the way. I can do casting. If you never try VR, you can jump in and try it if you want.
Yeah, it's over here.
And somebody you guys can